Welcome to Easy Sleep. Tonight's story is called The Coin That Spoke Back. It's a quiet, magical walk through neon streets, creaky stairwells, and small, brave choices. A tale designed to relax your body, calm your thoughts, and nudge open the door to abundance while you rest. If your mind wanders, let it. If you fall asleep, good. Everything that helps you is already on its way. And now, let's begin the story. It was the kind of night that smelled like fried oil and bad decisions. The wind along Delancey Street carried that familiar city tang, a greasy mix of hot dog water, car exhaust, and ancient gum baked into sidewalks. Lenny Mercado zipped up his weatherproof hoodie as best he could, one hand balancing a paper bag of sandwiches against his chest. The bag had already leaked. The hoagies were sweating through their wrappers. The delivery slip was curling at the edges, as if even the receipt wanted to be somewhere else. Floor 11, he muttered, glancing up at the towering apartment complex in front of him. The building had that brutalist charm that made every floor look identical. No doorman, no buzz system that worked. Just a keypad with half the numbers worn to nubs, and a sticky door that took shoulder muscle to get through. He shoved shoulder first. Inside, the elevator was broken. Again, a handwritten sign taped over the call button read, "Out of order. Use stairs. Sorry." Lenny groaned and looked at the sandwich bag. "You're not worth 11 flights," he whispered to it. But of course, he went anyway. That's what delivery guys did. Step by aching step, he climbed. Floor 3 made his knees twinge. Floor 6 brought out the shin splints. By floor 9, he was bargaining with God. At floor 11, he rapped on apartment 1107. No answer, of course. He knocked again, harder this time. A muffled voice from inside said, "Leave it at the door." Lenny bit back the urge to yell something sarcastic. "Will do," he chirped with all the venom of a passive-aggressive barista. He set the bag down gently, snapped a picture for proof, and turned back toward the stairs. As he descended, the sandwich sweat from earlier dripped onto his shoe. "Perfect," he muttered. Back outside, the city had only gotten colder. The sidewalk was slick, gleaming from a recent mist. His delivery bag swung limp at his side, lighter now, and still smelling like pickles. That's when he heard the click. He stopped. One foot had landed oddly, not on pavement, but on something metal. He shifted his weight and felt a tiny pop under his sole, like he cracked open a bottle cap. Curious, Lenny stepped back and looked down. There it was, a small gold coin, half embedded in a crack between the sidewalk slabs. He crouched to pry it loose. It was smoother than he expected, warm even. No date, no image of a president. Just a perfect golden disc, like it belonged in some board game no one had ever played. He turned it over once, then again. Nothing. "Well, that's useless," he muttered and pocketed it anyway. Years of poverty made him constitutionally incapable of ignoring free, shiny objects. He started walking. The cold bit harder now. His feet hurt. His back ached. He reached for his phone to check his next delivery, but instead, "Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly." The voice came from nowhere and everywhere. It was a whisper, smooth and crisp, like someone had leaned in and spoken directly behind his right ear. Lenny froze. He turned around. The street was empty, not just of people, even the pigeons were gone. "Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly." The voice came again, calm, reassuring, slightly amused. He slapped his pockets. "Okay, nope." He looked up and down the block. "Not funny. Not okay. Where's the speaker?" Nothing. Only the soft blink of a broken neon deli sign across the street and the distant wail of sirens that never seemed to arrive. He took a step. Wealth flows to me. Nope, Lenny snapped, pointing at the sky. Not today, haunted demon coin. He dug in his pocket, pulled it out, and held it up to the lamplight. The coin looked as dumb and blank as before. No mouth, no speaker holes. Is this some kind of app? Some promo thing? He rubbed at the edge like it might pop open. Great, I'm on a prank show. I'm going to get hit with a fish or a drone. No response. He put it to his ear. Silence. He rolled his eyes and pocketed it again. I need sleep. Another step. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. He stopped walking. This time he didn't react. Just stared ahead and let the words hang. Easily and effortlessly. It sounded like a joke, like a scam infomercial, like something a millionaire influencer would chant in a rented Lamborghini. And yet, the warmth of the coin was real. Back at the shop, the fryers hissed and sputtered. The air smelled like burnt oil and old cheddar. Hoagie Haven wasn't anyone's dream job, but it paid just enough to make sure you couldn't afford to quit. Lenny dumped his bag on the counter and headed for the back to clock out. Jessa was by the walk-in, arms crossed, phone lighting up her face. You're late. I took the scenic route through hell. She raised an eyebrow. Elevator out again? Yup. Got to climb 11 floors, leave a soggy sandwich at a locked door, and walk back with a slice of mild existential crisis. Nice. On brand. He pulled off his hoodie and hung it on the hook, careful not to let the coin drop from his pocket. Jessa squinted at him. You look like you saw a ghost. Or maybe got asked out by a ghost and you're considering it. I heard a voice. Was it the ghost? No. Lenny hesitated. I think it was the coin. Coin? He held it up like evidence in a murder trial. Found this on the sidewalk. It talks. You mean, like, it has a writing? No, I mean it literally talks. Like, whispering voice in my ear. Keeps telling me... He lowered his voice into a mock spooky tone. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. Jessa stared at him, then laughed. Dude, that's a TikTok manifestation thing. You probably heard it from some podcast, and your sleep-deprived brain is regurgitating it. Maybe, Lenny said, unsure. She walked back to the register, laughing. Let me know when it tells you where the lottery numbers are. Lenny stuffed the coin back in his pocket and clocked out. Outside again. Wind sharper now. City meaner. He walked toward the subway, hands deep in his hoodie pockets, shoulders hunched. And yet, the whisper came again. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. This time it didn't startle him. It felt inevitable, like a breath you didn't know you were holding. He paused under a flickering lamppost and said, softly, almost embarrassed, Okay. Sure, whatever. Thanks. Say it back, Lenny blinked. What? Say it. He looked around, still no one. You mean the phrase? Yes. He rolled his eyes. This is how schizophrenia starts, he muttered, but then in a whisper. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. Nothing happened. The wind didn't change direction. The heavens didn't open. There was no flash of gold or the sound of coins raining down on the sidewalk. But he did feel warmer. Somehow, and weirdly, lighter. He laughed to himself. Whatever, I'll play along. He said it again, louder this time. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. He half expected a stranger to shout, "Amen!" from a window. Nothing. Still, he didn't hate how it sounded. The next morning, he dragged himself back to Hoagie Haven. His shift started at 10. He arrived at 9:59. Barely. He tied his apron, half listened to Jessa's rundown of the morning orders, then picked up the first bag for delivery. A ham and brie special to a guy in a swanky office building near the river. Elevator worked this time. He arrived at the office door. Knocked. A well-dressed man in a blazer opened up. "Delivery?" "Yep, ham and brie, with the pickle, extra mustard." "Perfect." The man handed him a 20 and said, "Keep the change." Lenny blinked. The total was $11.38. He'd just been tipped $8.62. That never happened. He walked away stunned, then laughed aloud in the elevator. "Okay, coin, okay." Back outside, sun peeking out from behind grey clouds, he took out the coin again, rubbed it between thumb and forefinger. Warm, smooth, still blank. He said it without prompting this time. "Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly." The voice whispered back. Not a new phrase, just the same one, like an echo with perfect timing. But now it felt like a dance, a rhythm. And Lenny Mercado, formerly sandwich boy, professional cynic, and expert in self-sabotage, smiled as he walked down the block. He didn't know why. Didn't need to. Lenny sat on the edge of his bed, still wearing his delivery hoodie, socks mismatched, one hand dangling a spoon into a half-melted pint of peanut butter fudge swirl. His phone buzzed somewhere under a pile of receipts and unmatched Tupperware lids, but he didn't move to find it. The coin sat in his palm, not glowing, not vibrating, just sitting there, like it hadn't whispered at all. Like the events of the last 24 hours were some dopamine-induced dream cooked up by poor sleep and questionable cheese. He turned it over again. Blank on both sides. Not even a hint of wear. It looked like a token from a fancy kids' arcade, one that charged admission and sold artisanal soda in glass bottles. "No markings, no logo, no explanation," Lenny muttered. "You're basically the AirPod of coins." He raised it to his ear. Nothing. Of course. The night before had been weird, too weird. That $8 tip? Probably a one-off. The talking coin? Hallucination? He'd been working late? Maybe his blood sugar had been low. Maybe he wanted to believe too badly. He sighed and set it on the windowsill, right next to his dying plant and the cracked snow globe from a Christmas market he never remembered going to. Then he said it, just to test. "Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly." Silence, no whisper. He chuckled. Right, back to reality. He plopped back on the bed and grabbed the remote. But then, from the windowsill, "You don't believe it today." Lenny sat straight up. The coin hadn't moved. No speaker, no glow. Still, the voice had returned. Calm. Precise. Like someone reading a bedtime story through a wall of silk. He stood and approached it. "You only talk when I believe you." "I talk when you mean it." "Oh, great. A moral compass with shiny plating." No response. He stared at it for a moment, then picked it back up. "Fine," he said, half defiant. "Let's see what happens if I mean it." He closed his eyes, took a breath. "Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly." This time he meant it. This time something hummed. Not outside, but in him. A low thrum in his chest. Not dramatic, not magical, just possible. At the shop, the chaos of lunch hour was already in full swing. The register beeped non-stop. Jessa was shouting over the sizzle of the fryers. Lenny, you've got triple orders to the Fulton blocks. Mr. Devine, Rinaldi and Sons, and that kid with the skull hoodie again. Copy that, he said, unusually upbeat. Jessa stared at him. Are you okay? I'm great, Lenny replied, sliding his delivery bag over one shoulder. She narrowed her eyes. Why? Do you sound like you slept and ate vegetables? He just grinned. At Divine Law Offices, the receptionist smiled at him. Smiled. She even remembered his name. Thanks, Lenny. Mr. Devine said to tell you he liked your suggestion about the soup last time. I didn't make the soup. Still, he said thanks. She handed him a $10 tip in cash. At Rinaldi and Sons, the older guy at the front door gave him a handshake and 2 coffees. One for now, one for the road. And at the last stop, the kid with the skull hoodie, he waved Lenny over and handed him a business card. You do art, right? I used to. My cousin's got a startup. They need app design. They're paying. Lenny stared at the card like it might explode. Thanks. Back on the street, Lenny ducked into a bench under a bus shelter, pulled out the coin and laughed. Okay, this is getting creepy. It's just alignment. You sound like a meditation podcast. You stopped pushing. You started allowing. Oh my God, stop! You're unbearable! But he was smiling. He leaned back, looked at the overcast sky and whispered, Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. The clouds didn't part. The sun didn't shine. But in that moment, for the first time in years, Lenny didn't feel like he was drowning in his own life. The next morning, Lenny stood in front of the mirror brushing his teeth when he noticed it again. The weird glow. Not literal glow. Not light. A sort of lift in his face. In his eyes. He looked less like a disaster. He held up the coin. You're messing with me, aren't you? Ask for more. The whisper was calm, not a command, more like a gentle tug on a sleeve. Lenny narrowed his eyes. More what? You know. He thought about it. What he knew was that he made $12 an hour and lived in an apartment where the water only ran hot if you negotiated with it. He spent half his life dodging overdraft fees and delivering sandwiches to people who spoke to him, like he was Google Maps with legs. So yeah, he knew, back at Hoagie Haven, Lenny caught Jessa in the back room, scribbling on the dry erase board where they tracked tips and complaints. Hey, he said casually. Hey, she replied without looking up. I want to switch routes. She stopped writing. You're on Midtown and South Loop. I want River East. Jessa turned around, skeptical. That's Parker's zone. Parker just plays Pokemon Go and forgets half the orders. She snorted. You're not wrong. I've delivered there before. I'm fast and I don't spill soup. She studied him. You're serious? Lenny nodded. I'm asking for more. Why? He hesitated, then said the truth. Because I want more. She blinked and then shrugged. Fine, you're on River East today. He blinked back. Wait, really? Don't get cocky. If you screw it up, Parker gets it back. He was already halfway out the door. By noon, Lenny had delivered to 3 upscale condos, 1 corporate loft with a reception desk made of reclaimed boatwood, and a boutique yoga studio where someone tipped him in a lavender candle. He kept saying the mantra under his breath. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. He didn't force it, he didn't beg, he just said it. At the 3rd stop, a woman in a navy pantsuit said, You're the delivery guy who remembered my sesame allergy, right? I guess so. You're good. You ever do logistics? Lenny blinked. Like Sandwich logistics? She handed him a card. Call me. We're building a local routing platform. He stared at the card like it was radioactive. Are you serious? She just smiled. Say thank you, the coin whispered. He did. Back at the shop, Jessa was closing the register when Lenny walked in whistling. Don't even say it, she warned. Say what? You're glowing. That's just River East Air. It's made of rose water and guilt-free lattes. She threw a receipt roll at him. He caught it, and for the first time in weeks, laughed. The coin was warm in his pocket. The words were still there. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. The building at 406 West Ontario was new money, all chrome finishes and too much glass. The kind of place where even the elevator had mood lighting and smelled like eucalyptus. Lenny had been here once before, months ago, before he started listening to whispers. That time, the elevator worked fine. This time, not so much. A handwritten note was taped to the panel. Out of service. Use stairs. Sorry for the inconvenience. Of course, Lenny muttered, hoisting the delivery bag. It's not wealth if you don't climb for it. He pushed through the stairwell door and started up. The coin shifted in his pocket. Turn right instead. Lenny paused mid-step. Right where? You'll see. He snorted. That's not creepy at all. Floor 4, floor 5. His legs started protesting again. On floor 6, he saw it. A hallway, split left and right. The delivery was to 6B, left side. But the whisper had said right. He hesitated. This better not lead to an ambush. He turned right. There were only 2 doors, 6D and 6E. He stood there stupid for several seconds. Then, just as he was turning back, door 6D opened. A tall man in a flannel shirt and socks stepped out, holding a phone and looking vaguely confused. You delivering from Hoagie Haven? Lenny blinked. Not to you. The guy looked around, then back at him. Did you guys start taking design submissions for your new app? We don't have an app. The man smiled. That's funny. I got an email from your old manager, Carla. She mentioned someone that might be good with UX. Said he used to sketch logos on sandwich wrap. Lenny's eyebrows shot up. That was me. Perfect. I'm starting a food truck co-op and we need a brand guy. You in? The coin pulsed in his pocket like a heartbeat. Yeah, Lenny said. I'm in. Later that evening, he finally delivered the original sandwich. Cold, but still edible. The guy didn't notice. Tipped him $5. But Lenny barely registered it. He kept hearing the voice in his head, not the whisper, his own. Saying yes, saying, I'm in. He found himself on the sidewalk again, coin warm in his palm. Say it, the whisper nudged. He looked up at the sky, quiet and dark and somehow full. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. And this time, he didn't wait for the whisper to repeat it. He said it again himself, and again, until he believed it. The building on Fairbank had a lobby that smelled faintly of cardamom, like software engineers had finally discovered spices. Lenny followed the map on his phone to a loft that could fit his entire apartment inside its couch. The client's name on the order slip was Owen. The door opened before he knocked. Owen wore a sweatshirt that pretended to be casual, and a watch that forgot how. He smiled like he knew his smile was likable. You're a lifesaver, come in. Lenny set 2 paper bags on a kitchen island bigger than his bedroom. There were plants everywhere, the kind with names that sounded like Norwegian furniture. On the far wall, a whiteboard. Words written in a quick, confident hand. Onboarding friction, drivers, local, trust. He laughed before he could stop himself. Owen cocked his head. Something funny? Your whiteboard, Lenny said. It looks like my brain. Does it? Owen said, intrigued. What do you see? Lenny pointed, nervous energy running laps inside him. You've got drivers and local and trust in the same triangle. That's a co-op pitch. Owen lit up. Co-op was the word I forgot. Sit, he said, and then realised how rude that was. If you want, sorry, I make strangers pitch me things. Occupational hazard. Lenny almost said I deliver sandwiches and left it. Instead, he reached for the coin in his pocket and pinched it like a yes button. The whisper arrived like a hand on his shoulder. Ask him something. Lenny cleared his throat. Okay, I have an idea. It's half-baked and held together by deli mustard, but can I float it? Owen grinned. Pitch away. Lenny spoke and tried to keep his words from tripping each other. Independent sandwich shops and bodegas are getting eaten by apps that treat them like interchangeable ghost kitchens. Drivers get punished by algorithms. Customers get cold food and fake fees. What if I build a route smart co-op app for the neighbourhood? Drivers are members. Shops are partners. We keep the money local. We don't charge junk. We make the map for us. He stopped. The kitchen hummed softly like expensive refrigerators do. Owen folded his arms. You ever built an app? No, Lenny said. I can draw one with a Sharpie. Can you sell the idea to 10 shops? I can try. Do you have a name? He almost said easy flow and caught himself. Side door. Owen smiled. Good name. Sneaks past gatekeepers. He walked to the whiteboard and wrote, Side door? As if adding a question to reality. You got a pitch deck? Not yet. He pulled up a photo on his phone, order slips with scribbles, a tagline in block letters. We know your route because it's ours. He winced. I said it was a napkin deck. Owen looked for a long second, then nodded. This is either cute or brilliant. Either way, it's honest. He scribbled his email on a takeout napkin and handed it over. Send me something by tomorrow morning. 5 slides. Problem, solution, model, go-to-market, team. Team? Lenny said, involuntarily looking down at his sauce-freckled hoodie. Whoever you text at 1 a.m. when you want to quit, Owen said. That's your team. The coin warmed like a grin. Lenny raised the bag of sandwiches a little. You forgot to tip, he said, and regretted it instantly. Owen laughed and slid him a 20. For the pitch, he said, not the pastrami. Lenny took it, then added, because he was learning to say the thing he would regret not saying. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. Owen's smile sharpened. Only if you make it easy and effortless for other people. That's the plan, Lenny said and meant it. He left the cardamom lobby with adrenaline buzzing under his skin like bees who had discovered espresso. On the sidewalk, he exhaled, looked up at the precise grid of windows lit like a circuit board, and said quietly and not for any audience, Thank you. The coin didn't answer. The wind did. It pushed him down the block like a hand between his shoulder blades. He noticed the absence the way you notice a missing tooth. His tongue went looking. End of shift, he unzipped his hoodie pocket to move the coin to his jeans and found lint, a dime, and the hot drop of a panic that fizzed up his spine. No, he said to the inside of a pocket. He checked again, turned the hoodie inside out, patted himself like a TSA agent with a vendetta. The dime mocked him with its bland face. The coin was not there. He checked the delivery bag. Every pocket, every seam. He shook the bag and an orphaned ketchup packet fell out, then a quarter, then a receipt for something he didn't buy. He crouched on the sidewalk and sifted through his life in miniature. Twist ties, a button, a fortune cookie slip he hadn't opened. He opened it out of superstition. "Say yes," it read. He almost threw it and didn't. "No, no, no," he said, and set his palms on the cold pavement like prayer. He retraced his steps in a hunched trot, eyes combing the gum-freckled concrete. Past the Cardamom building, past the rec centre bulletin board, past the bus shelter with a ripped ad for a show where rich people scream into wine. Nothing. He went into Hoagie Haven like weather, letting the door slam. Jessa looked up and instantly read the headline on his face. "What did you lose?" she said, already rounding the counter. He laughed and it sounded wrong. "A small piece of my sanity." "The coin?" "Yeah." She didn't say, "I told you not to get weird." She grabbed her coat and shouldered through the door. "Come on." "You don't have to." "Shut up," she said kindly. "We're going for a walk." They walked. He narrated the pockets he'd checked and the corners he'd cut, and the exact moment he remembered feeling for it and finding only hoodie. She listened without filling in the gaps, a skill that was better than magic. They ended up by the Riverwalk without deciding to, the water black and parting under the bridge lights like the city was practicing a trick. The wind was honest and mean. Jessa tucked her hands into her sleeves and leaned on the railing. "Here's an ugly question," she said. "Do you actually need it?" He wanted to say yes. He wanted to say the coin was the difference between the soup and the pitch, and the way his chest didn't feel like a locked room anymore. He wanted to say it like a child says, "Blanket." He looked at the water instead. "I don't know how to do this without training wheels." "You have been," she said. "The last thing it said to you earlier was basically, believe what you say or shut up. Seems like your higher self got mouthy." He smiled despite the panic. "It did." "Then maybe tonight it decided you should try steering," she said. "You've still got the words." He watched a piece of trash spin lazily in a whirlpool, then break free as if the water got bored of it. He breathed cold and said it, because if he didn't tonight, he never would. "Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly." The sentence felt different without the coin in his fist. Lighter or lonelier, he couldn't tell. He waited for the whisper echo. All he got was the wind stinging his cheeks. He laughed once, soft. "You ever say thank you during a fire drill?" he asked the river. "Yes," Jessa said immediately. "Turns out it still counts." They walked back slowly, not to lose the coin, but to not lose whatever part of the night was doing the talking that wasn't the mean voice in his head. At the shop door, she bumped his shoulder. "You still have that community fund pitch tomorrow?" "Yeah." "Good," she said. "Go write 5 slides on napkins, and then take photos and pretend you meant to do that." He grinned, small and grateful. "You're ridiculous." "Rich with ideas," she said, and held the door. In the empty shop's hum, he pulled his hoodie off a hook. The coin tumbled from the lining, through a tear he hadn't noticed, and pinged once against the tile. They both stared at it like it was a spider you respect. Jessa didn't say "I told you so." She nudged it with the toe of her sneaker toward him. "You still good without it?" He bent to pick it up. It was warm as ever, like it had been holding its breath. He held it level with his eyes. "I think so," he said. It said nothing. That felt right. He slipped it into his jeans pocket, not the hoodie, and patched the hoodie's lining with a piece of duct tape Jessa handed him without comment. On his way out, he tapped the counter twice like athletes tap doorway signs. It was dumb, and it helped. The community centre multi-purpose room was aggressively beige. The folding chairs had opinions. The projector didn't like the laptop, and the laptop didn't like being judged, so they both glared at Lenny as if he had wronged their ancestors. The room buzzed with fluorescent defeat and coffee that had been reheated so many times it had developed a personality. He set his napkin slides under the document camera because technology was a dare. The camera flickered, then showed the crowd a blown-up view of his shaky handwriting. Side door. We know your route, because it's ours. He swallowed. People looked back. Bodega owners in winter hats, a bakery couple holding hands, a guy in a varsity jacket taking notes like he was cramming for a dream. The moderator nodded at him. You're up? He looked for Jessa. She gave him a thumbs up so tiny it might have been a tremor. He set the coin on the edge of the table where he could see it and not hold it. Hi, he said. His voice came out less tinny than he expected. My name is Lenny. I deliver sandwiches. A few chuckles. Good. He exhaled. I've delivered to the whole map they made for us, he said. The map that takes the long way because it's good for someone else. I want to build a short way. For us. He flipped the first napkin. Problem. He told stories instead of numbers. The time an algorithm sent him in a triangle to shave 30 seconds of someone else's efficiency. The way drivers ghosted because the song of the app was all stick and no carrot. He didn't say exploitative out loud. He didn't have to. Solution. A co-op app, he said. The words sounded almost plausible under the beige lights. Drivers own a piece, shops set terms, customers pay what the map actually costs. No dark kitchen trickery. We show faces again. Model. He drew with his finger on the camera feed. A circle, arrows going in and around, money doing the polite loop it should do when it lives in a neighbourhood and not a server farm. Go to market. I can get 5 shops by soon, he said, and laughed because tomorrow was stupid. Next month was a lie, but soon was honest. Team. He pointed to where Jessa stood, arms crossed, mouth smirking, eyes proud. Her, he said, and whoever answers when we text at 1 a.m. The projector chose that moment to blink, then go blue, then black. The room exhaled disappointment. The moderator fussed with chords. Lenny looked at the suddenly blank wall and felt that old drop in his gut, like an elevator missing the floor he'd ordered. He looked at the coin on the edge of the table. It looked back with its blank, perfect, nothing. Say it, he whispered to himself. He did, and for once he didn't care that people were watching. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. Someone in the third row said, "What?" And he smiled. I'm reminding myself that good things don't need me to strangle them to happen. The projector coughed and came back to life. The room clapped out of relief and maybe a little out of respect for a man swearing at a god no one could see. He finished, hands steadier now. The moderator thanked him. The grant committee, 3 people who looked like they had to argue with spreadsheets for a living, conferred in a corner. Lenny stood by the table, coin warm under his thumb, heart doing that kick drum triplets thing. The committee chair walked over with a stack of forms and a face that practiced neutral in the mirror. We can't fund the whole build, she said, and he felt his stomach go to the basement. But we can fund the pilot. 2,000 now, 2,000 on evidence of shops signed. We want you to work with our small business coach. She's loud, you'll live. He blinked. Paper existed between them now. A number lived on it that wasn't red. Jessa grabbed his arm, squeezing hard enough to ache. He didn't realise he was smiling like he'd been told a joke only he could hear. Say thank you, the coin whispered. Thank you, he said, to the chair, to the room, to the projector that had decided, miraculously, to be reasonable. On the way out, a bakery owner stopped him, flower on his sleeve like a badge. We're in, he said, if you really mean the co-op part. I do, Lenny said. The bakery owner nodded once. Good. Don't make me regret it. Same, Lenny said. The coin was almost hot. The soft launch was soft like teeth. He and Jessa set up in the back of Hoagie Haven, laptops that sounded laboured, a free trial of some map software, a group text with 3 drivers who were friends of friends, 2 shops besides Hoagie Haven, and a spreadsheet that wanted to be a calendar when it grew up. Orders trickled in at a pace that would drown them if it ever turned into a stream. "Why is the map sending Marco across the river for a single BLT?" Jessa asked no one. "Because the river owes Marco $60, Lenny said, stabbing at a key. Marco texted, "Bridge traffic, SOS. Also, who ordered no bread." Jessa, "Keto is a cry for help. Take canal." An order got lost between tabs. A driver got lost between one-ways and Pride. A customer called to ask why the app didn't show animated scooters. Lenny said because they believed in people and reality, and the customer hung up. The coin sat next to the laptop like a paperweight. Once or twice, in a quiet pocket between pings, it whispered the old sentence, almost as if to reset the room's blood pressure. "Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly." "Liar," Lenny said, and regretted it as soon as he heard his old tone. He tapped the coin with his fingertip like you tap a friend's knee to apologize. 9 p.m. The night had become a blur of addresses and the names of sandwiches. Lenny's shoulders hurt in a way he wished had a remedy besides time. The phone rang, a number from across town. He answered. A voice like cigarette smoke and cinnamon said, "Is this side door, or did I call a guy in a basement pretending again?" "This is side door," Lenny said too fast. "I run Balters," the voice said. Old neon his mind supplied, a griddle like an altar. "We heard you're not jerks. We want in." Jessa's eyes went wide. She put the call on speaker without asking. "Terms," she mouthed. "We take 10, Lenny said to the phone, hand over the mic looking at Jessa, who did a so-so hand wobble, and then pointed 2 fingers down like make it 8. 8%, Lenny corrected. "Drivers get a cut. You get a say, we don't do surge." Silence. He could hear a grill hiss, like the person was thinking in butter. "You talk like a person," the voice said. "Fine. Bring a paper tomorrow. Not an app. A paper I can sign with a pen." "Tomorrow," Lenny said, and then, because his mouth was learning, "Thank you." The call ended. He set the phone down carefully, like it was a sleeping bird. Jessa let out a breath she'd been renting. "We're a thing," she said, both delighted and terrified. "We're a thing," he echoed, and the coin whispered in agreement, not with words, but with the sudden ease he felt in his shoulders, like someone had slid a heavy backpack off without him noticing. Outside, a bus sighed. Inside, the friar coughed. The spreadsheet blinked its dumb cells. Lenny felt the exhaustion like a blanket and decided, on purpose, not to crawl under it yet. "Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly," he said softly, as if he were tucking the shop in. For once, the sentence didn't argue with reality. It negotiated. Mr. Soros's shop was called Soros Saurus on the sign, which looked like a joke that had been carried too far, and then accepted into the family. Inside, the air tasted like pepper and childhood. The man himself had a beard that promised stories, and hands that looked like they had fried things and held babies with equal competence. "You're the why not guy," he said by way of hello. "I'm Lenny." "Same," he said, which was not true, and laughed. He set 2 plates on the counter, a sandwich the size of a book and another book. The book was a ledger. The sandwich was perfect. "Eat and tell me," Mr. Soros said, and Lenny did, because sometimes you follow orders from men who can plate clarity. He laid out side door with his mouth full. Mr. Soros listened with the kind of attention that makes you stand up straighter. He said, which was at least 3 sentences. "You ever hear voices?" he added, casual as salt. Lenny choked on a crumb. "Excuse me?" "Not the bad ones," Mr. Soros said. His eyes twinkled mischief. The good one that only says one thing, but somehow it's enough. Lenny stared. The coin warmed in his pocket shy suddenly. Maybe, he said. I had a coin once, Mr. Soros said, flipping open the ledger. It used to tell me to raise my prices, not in numbers, in permission. One day it shut up. That's how I knew I was the one doing the talking. Lenny wanted to hug the ledger. I don't do apps, Mr. Soros went on, but I do neighborhood. How much do you need to not die this month? Lenny named a number that wouldn't offend. Mr. Soros doubled it and then halved it, which somehow made it bigger and smaller and exactly right. I'll be an angel who doesn't want wings, he said. I'll want a sandwich and a say. A say how? If you start doing math that makes us smaller, I come take the chalk. Lenny nodded. Deal. They shook. Mr. Soros's hand was warm, like the coin, like the grill, like a promise said out loud. On the walk back to the shop, Lenny noticed the coin hadn't spoken in a while. He took it out. It looked the same. Blank, perfect, a mirror that returned only commitment. He realized with the quiet grace of a shoe finally broken in that the voice had been more his than not for days now. When he whispered the line, he didn't wait for a second voice to dress it. He didn't need a duet to know the tune. He walked past the river and didn't think of losing anything. He walked into the shop and saw Jessa's face and felt the odd, sturdy certainty that somehow the thing would be what it would be, and that what it would be theirs. Guess who's a team member, he said. Mr. Ampersand, she said. Soros. She laughed so hard she had to lean on the counter. He set the coin next to the tip jar. It glinted. Feels like your coin is quieter, she said. So am I, he said, and it was true. The dinner rush was a kind of moving prayer. Lenny ran orders to the door, checked the map, adjusted the route, soothed a driver, charmed a shop owner, apologized to a cat that sat on a stoop like a judge, all without losing the thread of himself. The coin sat on the counter, catching fluorescence, not insisting. A kid came in near closing, 14 maybe, hoodie up, skittish swagger, like life had given him a stage with no rehearsal. He counted the coins in his pocket twice, and still came up short. How much is the half? He asked, not meeting anyone's eyes. Jessa named a price that let him save face. He handed over the coins like he was surrendering a small war. Lenny cut the sandwich with ceremonial seriousness and slid an extra pickle like a secret. The kid glanced at the tip jar, at the coin glinting in its shallow bed. That's not real gold, he said, aiming for scorn and hitting curiosity. Nope, Lenny said. It's louder than gold sometimes. The kid snorted and then didn't leave. He looked at the door, then at the coin, then at Lenny, like a man setting down a heavy choice. You hungry now or hungry later? Lenny asked. Always, the kid said. Same, Lenny said. He picked up the coin. It was warm, like always, but more like the warmth of something that had been in a pocket with a person who moved. He weighed it. It weighed the same as any other coin, except it didn't. He held it out. You want a weird thing that acts like a mirror? The kid squinted. That's a trick. It only does one thing, Lenny said, but the thing is big. What thing? It repeats whatever you say with your chest. The kid looked at Jessa, who raised her eyebrows like, this is above my pay grade. He took the coin very delicately, as if taking the lid off a pot he couldn't smell yet. What do I do? He asked. Hold it and say something you can't laugh at, Lenny said. The kid rolled his eyes expertly, then looked at the coin like maybe it had better jokes than Lenny. He took a breath that made his shoulders bigger for a second. Money comes to me, he said, testing, and then, hearing the thinness, winced like at a sour note. Try this one, Lenny said. He spoke slow and without theatre, the way you hand someone a tool. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. The kid tried it on. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. The fluorescent light hummed, the fryer clicked in cooling. The coin did what it did when the words had weight. It warmed infinitesimally. The kid's eyes flicked up as if someone had called his name from another room. You hear it? Lenny asked. I don't hear anything, the kid said, but there was a new carefulness in his voice, and the way he said anything sounded like it held too much on purpose. Good, Lenny said. That means it's working. The kid tucked the coin into the small pocket above his jeans pocket, the one no one uses, with solemn efficiency, as if the coin had told him where it liked to ride. What do I do now? He asked, not quite ready for the door. Walk home, Lenny said. Eat your half sandwich while it's hot. Try the sentence when you're brushing your teeth and when you're mad at something dumb and when you're sure it won't work. Then do the next not dumb thing you can see. That's it? That's it, Lenny said, and come back and tell me if you started anything. The kid nodded once, maybe to the coin, maybe to the night. He took his sandwich and left the bell jangling. The shop went quieter in a different way, like a stage after a good line. Jessa wiped down the counter with small, satisfied circles. You just gave away your training wheels, she said. They were never mine, he said. She smirked. You want a moment, or you want to mop? Both, he said, and reached for the mop. The bucket squeaked its disapproval and then did its job anyway. They closed with the ritual they'd built. Jessa counted, Lenny stacked. They both cursed the stubborn fridge. They both laughed at the same time for no reason. Outside, the night had the particular brightness of a city deciding it was done with the weather report for a minute. On the sidewalk, Lenny locked the door and jiggled it twice because that's the number that always worked. He stood with his hands in his coat, feeling for a coin that wasn't there and not panicking because he knew exactly whose pocket it warmed now. He looked at Jessa. She looked back. Something had been doing push-ups between them for months, and finally sat down on the curb and didn't need to be identified. You ready? She asked. For what? He said, smiling. For the same thing again, she said, but maybe easier, maybe more us. He tipped his head. The streetlight haloed her bun like a joke saint. A bus sighed. Somewhere a siren decided someone else had it. He felt the night like a door that opened just wide enough to walk through. He said the line because it still belonged to him, because it was still the right shape, because it had moved from coin to bone. Wealth flows to me easily and effortlessly. He didn't wait for a whisper. He didn't need a second voice. He stepped off the curb exactly as the light changed, the city making room like it always had and always would when he walked like he belonged in it. Tomorrow, Jessa said, falling into step. Tomorrow, he agreed. They went, not somewhere later, not in a montage, not credited to fate. They went the way people go when they've decided, street by street, door by door, word by word. You've reached the end of The Coin That Spoke Back. If you're still awake, place a hand over your heart, and let's seal tonight with one last intention. Wealth flows to me, easily and effortlessly. Feel the words rest in you. Abundance is already finding the simplest path to you. From Easy Sleep, thank you for listening. May your night be peaceful and your mornings a little brighter. Good night.